Hello again, welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is BGFH, and we're continuing our look through, or little walkthrough, or let's play for the Stanley Parable. And since this is such a short game, and like I said, it's just interesting to see what happens, and with the weird little self-aware humor here, I'm kind of curious to see what some of these alternative paths will do, or where they'll take us. And I figured since I'm going to play through them anyway, and you guys might be curious as well, we're just going to keep going. So again, I'm going to skip the original cutscene here to move on a little bit quicker. But then we'll try some other stuff.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
And this is where I skip the cutscene once again. I do like the way that they build on, like if I go down a certain path or I do something different. He said a couple of, like when he went into the broom closet last time, he's like, "You've already done this before.
All of his co-workers were gone.
I'm not playing your game."
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So we're just going to book it right over to the meeting room, and then we are going to go downstairs instead of try to look for the boss. I wonder if I hurry up if he'll be like, "Oh wow, he was really eager to do
Stanley
that."
came to a set of two open doors. He entered the door on his left.
I did. And we're booking right along. We're going to go into the dark meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
And of course, you know we're not going to do that this time. Nice. The broom closet is all boarded up. You won't let me in this time. Oh man, that's not cool. That's pretty funny though. It's actually boarded up. That's great. It's like, no, we're not going to give you any more commentary, so we're just going to flat out block it off.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Well, funnily enough, he didn't. He walked down instead. Anything interesting under the stairs?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be?
It was a video
Was Stanley
game.
simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all,
I'm really curious how long this goes on.
that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Or not. Open your eyes and there's the car.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please.
This just goes on and on.
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Okay.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
The hell?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Alrighty. Now we get a loading zone. And I didn't go down that little hallway with that room. Okay, now we're back in the office. So we're starting over. And I'm going to let this video run a little long because I want to see if...
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Okay, that was different.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Huh. What I was going to say was that we're going to go and go downstairs again because I want to see, you know, I didn't go down that through that door where the car was because the narrator just kept going on, and I wanted to see actually what he said. I wanted to let him completely finish. So I wonder if we could have interrupted him and just kept cruising along. And that's what we're going to find out as we continue our little trek through the office once again. This is really kind of a neat game, just because now I'm especially, you know, I thought there was only a few little things that we could do, you know, a couple little paths that we could take. But now I'm really starting to be curious as to, like, how many... what is this? But now I am really curious to see, and I don't know if I'll find them all, but I don't know how many choices there actually are to make. So, yeah, this is actually becoming quite an interesting little Let's Play. I'm glad I decided to cover this, so...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
We're still going to do that. I wonder if I'll be able to go in I wonder if I will be able to go into the broom closet again, or if it'll still be boarded up.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
And maybe not. Alright, that's still blocked off. They won't let me do that.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
And he actually didn't. He's going to go down again and see if he can get further through this place where the narrator just goes crazy.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his
And I'm not going to let him
boss,
finish. I'm just
admitting
going to
he had
keep
left his
walking
post
through
during
here.
work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him?
Okay, that's what he was referring to when the rooms were looping over and over. Okay, because I just stood here, because like I said, I was afraid that I was going to interrupt the commentary or the narration here. So yeah, that's what he was referring to. Okay, now that makes more sense.
Dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream.
Okay.
What a relief, Stanley.
I like the fact that they call out, you know, in the Source Engine games, one of the things that I found was really amusing is that, you know, they're always talked about immersion and got to make the player, you know, just feel like they're really there. And all the time, like, you have no feet, you have no arms. Anytime you manipulate anything, you're this invisible, like, floating head.
So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
I'm
Then he
flying.
imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too
Whee!
appeared. It was
That's
so
cool.
much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest
Get in the
question
car
of
and
them all
leave.
entered Stanley's head. One, he was amazed he
Well,
hadn't
you know
lost
what?
himself.
Since we know how this is going to end and that we're going to go back into our office after all this, I'm not going to actually play all the way through it. I'll run through this one more time, and then I'm going to wrap up the video, and then we are going to see what is in the right door in the next video. So we may be coming to a close here pretty soon. The next video might be the last one, but I'm not sure. And so let's end it right here, and until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.